Right people, so welcome back to another day and yet another video. Thankfully I've managed to start the video a bit earlier in the day, so we've got some better light. It's about 2 o'clock at the moment. But today's special is going to be this Yamaha Kodiak 400. This is an 02. These are my favourite machines of all time, believe it or not. I've got things like that lovely Arctic Cat, but I still prefer these. Now, one identical to this, not this exact one, but one identical, was my first ever bike. It had the same stickers on it. It was in a lot tidier condition than this, though. I had that when I was 13, which was been about, I think it was 2011. So those of you can work out how old I am from that, if you're that bothered. But yeah, this one identical to this was my first bike. This is in a bit poorer shape than the one I had. I've had quite a lot of these, but they're pretty bulletproof. It's got a couple of the common issues. So the drive shaft splines are stripped of the front diff. So we've got to take the front diff out and inspect how bad they are and see what exactly we need to replace. And the other problem with it is that not the ball joints, but the wheel bearings are catastrophically bad. Look at that. You'd think it didn't even have a bearing in there, look. And the other side isn't much better. Believe it or not, this is another trade-in bike. This one came against the Arctic Cat 450. You would not believe somebody had been driving that. But he'd been dailying this up to the point where he traded it in. It's just unbelievable. It just shows how tough these things are, that they'll carry on going even when they're like that. But the saving grace with this one, and the only reason I accepted it as a part exchange, is listen to this. And it doesn't smoke. It starts straight up and it runs fantastically. The gearbox is all in order, so is the back axle. So in theory, all we need to do is 2 wheel bearings, the prop shaft. We'll need to send the racks, the bull bars off to powder coat. We'll send the wheels off to powder coat. I've got some, or I picked up this morning, should I say, some used tyres. But they are quite good tyres. We've got a set of Maxis for the back. They've got decent tread on, as you can see. And we've got a set of Dunlop for the front, which also have reasonable tread on. For a bike of that age, they're perfectly acceptable. So we'll put them new tyres on. We'll recover the seat. We'll give it a damn good cleaning. I don't know why it's got this pull start here. They've obviously replaced the rope at some point. We'll get rid of this, I presume it's like a boot, or some cut up bit of boot. We'll get that off and put a proper rubber on there. We'll get rid of this disgusting foam mount. We'll fix that back in position and just do loads of little jobs. Oh yeah, and it's the other problem with it is got no brakes at all on the front, they're non-existent. And the back brakes ain't much better. But as I say, surprisingly, everything that matters all works. 4x4 actuator works, the lights work. So it's got no electronic problems. Even the horn, even that works as it should. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do now is I'll whip the wheels off and we'll have a look exactly what the hell is going on. I'm wondering if it's even got a bearing in. Because I mean, look at that. That is the worst wheel bearing I've ever seen. So yeah, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so the wheels are off now. And this is definitely just, I mean, what the hell has happened there? That's bad, 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 bad. I wouldn't be surprised if that has completely destroyed the hubs and the axle, as well as the bearing. There's no pad in there. Obviously that's been putting so much pressure on that the pad has just come out. That caliper is, yeah, that's just knackered. There's no pads at all in this. It's obviously been running on the brake disc. Brake disc is bad, but it might be salvageable, to be honest. Yeah, probably be salvageable, that disc, I'm not sure. It's pulled so hard on the joint that it's torn the boot off. The joint seems okay, but we'll have to see how worn down the surface of the axle is. On the other side, see, we even got pads in there. Yeah, again, very bad. There is some pad in here. Can you see? Very, very thin. There is actually a little bit. No, it's not actually. It's down to the metal. Again, disc is fairly worn, but probably will be salvageable. What are the ball joints like? Not much play on the bottom one. Little bit in the upper. Let's have a look on the other side. Okay, so surprisingly there's actually no noticeable wall joint play on this side. Frame, the surface rust on it, but it doesn't seem rotten at all. Shock bushes seem alright, as do the A-arm bushes. The A-arm bushes on these Yamahas never wear out, no matter what they've been through, they just don't wear out. They're hard as a rock. I've never had to replace one. So yeah, I think what I'll do now, obviously I'll need to take them hubs off. So I'll get the hubs off and I'll be back to you. Right, so we've got another typical Yamaha common fault. The hub knot is completely seized on. It will not come off with an impact. Yes, I know I'm using a chrome socket, but I can't find the impact. The only way I've got these off in the past is by cable tying the brakes on as hard as I can get them and using a breaker bar. But obviously there's no brakes on this. So the only thing I can think to do is heat the absolute hell out of them. I've got to replace all the wheel bearing seals anyway. So we've got the nice new gas canister and we're going to heat the absolute living hell out of it and see what happens. Hopefully I'll get them off and don't have to cut them off and replace the old axle. Right, so as you can see by the state of my hands, a lot of progress has been made. The diff is now out, as are all them shafts. Unfortunately the shafts nuts were just so seized, I had to cut them. I did my best to cut them only in one area. As you can see, I've just cut them at the top. But realistically, I'm going to have to replace them. I'm not happy selling it to anybody with anything like that. As I expected, the worst side, the hub is completely destroyed alongside with the bearing. Look, if you look in there, there's nothing left of the hub. It's completely annihilated. That's the remainder of the bearing. Absolutely destroyed. The other side is salvageable. Where's the hub that I took off the other side? Here it is. As you can see, the bearings are still technically in position in this hub, so this hub is salvageable. So we're going to need one new hub, we're going to need two new drive shafts, and it will benefit from the drive shafts anyway, I'm not too worried. I managed to get one of them out the diff, the other one came out of its housing, but luckily I think I can tap it through from the other side, so that should be fine. If not, I'll have to weld something onto this to use as a hammering point. The diff is in good condition. We've got no play in the rear of the diff. It all spins and operates as it should. Christ, I'm getting oil everywhere here. Oh god, I'm going to have to clean that up in a minute. But here's our drive shaft, our primary drive shaft for the front. It goes into the diff like so. The drive shaft's in reasonable condition. We've got a bit of wear on these splines, but you kind of expect that. It's the coupling that goes on these all the time. Well, not all the time, but it is a fairly common problem. This is the coupling that couples the middle drive gear in the engine to this prop shaft. As you can see, this side of it is okay. I'm not going to be able to show you properly, but there's minimal play in this side, so our prop shaft is salvageable. But if we look down the splines, this is the middle drive gear side, and them splines are very, very worn. Probably it looks a lot better on camera than it is, but there's the other side. You can see there's a drop in the splines. You see that? But luckily they did have the sense to make this out of a much softer grade of steel than the actual middle drive gear. If I get a torch... Oh no, it's gone all on the floor. I'm going to have to sort that out. Right, here's a torch. The frame's in good condition, no problems at all with the frame, not rotten. I'm just going to have to give it a good clean up and a bit of a hammerite. But as you can see down there, if I get the light in, there's our middle drive gear, and the splines are still reasonable on it. I'm not going to be able to show you on camera realistically because I'm on my own, but if I put it on this way, which is the way it goes onto the engine, this just free plays. It just spins, but if I put it on the drive shaft way, like so, it's nice and tight and solid, so I should be fine just replacing this coupling. These are actually reasonably dear, but I should have no worries finding one. So yeah, I'll need a new coupling, two new shafts, a new hub, and a new wheel bearing. I did also notice that the bushing on this shock is in poor condition. Come on, that kind of is rough. So that will be replaced at the same time. The calipers that come out of it, here's one for this side. As you can see, it's really not nice. I'll buy a new set of calipers for it for the cost of them. This one did have a pad protecting the piston. Oh, excuse me, I've been lying on the floor for like 2 hours, but the other side, as you can see, has been rubbed quite badly, so that's scrap. The discs on them are on the verge of what I would like to put on a bike that's for sale. I'd be perfectly happy to run them myself, but there is a little, well, quite a bit of wear, as you can see, but they are still safe. I'll have a look what the cost of a set of discs are. If it's not extortionate, I'll put them on. If not, we'll run them with these. We do test the bikes at least 50 miles before they're sold anywhere. So yeah, stay tuned for the next one. It's going to take me a couple of weeks probably to get the parts in, because realistically that coupling is probably going to come from the States. That's probably going to be the most reasonably priced one. All the ball joints are fine as far as I can tell, thankfully, because they are really expensive on these. I'm going to have a look now at this master cylinder. Obviously one of the screws is destroyed in it. I'm going to see if I can get them screws out. If not, I'm going to order a master cylinder at the same time. To be honest, I may well just order one anyway, because it's obviously 20 odd years old at this point. This bike, obviously it looks terrible now, but once we've powder coated everything and given it a really good clean, it will be quite a reasonably tidy machine. And they say these are incredibly good bikes. They last, unless you abuse them, they last forever. So yeah, I'll see you, I guess, in the next one.